Hi there and welcome to Ehlke Art. My name is Mrs. Ehlke and today I am going to make a neon beetle. This neon beetle is super cool because it shows symmetry, meaning one side is the exact opposite of the other side. So you can make a line right down the middle and they should match just so, okay? I also added some fun little legs to this beetle. Check out the description in this video for the list of supplies needed and follow along for this fun beetle tutorial, right? Thanks so much for watching. If you are liking these videos, please hit that like button and subscribe down below. For this project, I am using 90-pound watercolor paper, and you can use 90-pound, you can use 140-pound, just something that maybe is a little bit thicker so it will hold up with the paint. I'm using black acrylic paint and a pointed brush. I will list all the other supplies that I'm using in the description down below. The first step for this project is to fold my paper in half. So I have folded it in half the long way, and I'm really pressing down on that seam to get a nice solid crease. And now I'm going to go ahead and draw a beetle. Now I'm trying to make a beetle that's symmetrical, so I'm only going to draw on one side of my paper. And since I'm right-handed, I'm going to draw mine on the right. And I'm starting with a little curve. It's not all the way to the top of my paper, but pretty close. And I'm going to go ahead and use my fingers to smash it. And you can see that now my curve shows up on the other side of my paper as well. I'm going to do the same thing going up here to connect it back to the middle so that now I have a completed shape. Now you see that because my paint didn't quite show up as well on the left side, I can always touch it up on the right as needed. It just means that I'm not using quite enough paint on my brush, which is just fine. You can always add a little bit more paint after you smash them together. It's just nice to know exactly where you need to add it. All right, here's the second section of my beetle that I'm drawing. And again, I'm just kind of bringing it back in towards the middle. It's totally fine if your section is different than my section because there are so many different kinds of beetles out there. So feel free to make yours a little bit different shape than mine. Maybe your second section is a little bit longer than mine or a little bit shorter. Now I'm going to work on the main body part of the beetle, and this one I want to make pretty big. So I'm going a little bit closer to the edge of my paper and then bringing it way down towards the bottom of my paper as well. I'm trying to make sure that I use up all of the space here of my paper. So you'll see I'm going to go all the way down. I'm just doing a section at a time and then pressing it down with my fingers in between until I connect way down at the bottom of my paper. I'm just pushing down so that you can see the line, and then now I'll go back in and add a little bit more paint on my left side so that my lines match up and it's dark enough to show up on my bug. Now, like I said, beetles come in so many different shapes and so many different colors. So hopefully your beetle is a little bit different than mine just to make it unique. All right, I'm going to add little pinchers up here to the top of my beetle by doing one that kind of hooks to the inside, smashing it, and now I have two. I'll paint that in as well. And now I've got the main things for my beetle. I'm going to add eyes, and then the rest of my body I will fill with some designs. And here again, your creative juices can flow. So think about maybe a shape or a line that you can put on the right side and then smash to make a shape on the left. So you notice that my diagonal line here turned into a triangle once I smashed it. You could also do something fun like a wavy line. Maybe I'll go ahead and use my paint to make some curves here that go from the center to the outside. I will of course smash those and push down with my fingers to get a good transfer. And now I have a curve on the other side as well. I can adjust it as needed, add a little bit more paint to clean it up. And now I've got a nice curvy line in the middle of my beetle. You can also have some floating shapes, like maybe I'll make a circle here and press that down. What I do want to note is that all of the things I am doing here are only with lines. I am not at any point right now coloring with my black. The black is just used for lines because all of the color I'm going to add later with neon paint. So as you are working on your beetles, make sure you're not coloring in the sections, but instead just using lines to add your designs. So I'm trying to use my lines to add different designs inside of my beetle. You can even have one that goes straight down the middle like this to kind of divide your beetle into two sections. Beetles usually have wings, so their main hard back shells can go from one side to another. So you can definitely make a line kind of showing where they separate if you would like to. All right, I'm gonna think of maybe some other shapes that I can make. Maybe this one will be more of like an oval shape. So a longer circle like that. I could maybe add squares or triangles or hearts. I mean, it really is up to you. I could add maybe some diagonal lines, another wavy line. Really, it doesn't matter, whatever you want to make. This one looks kind of more like a rectangle here. So I'm just trying to kind of fill up my space so that I have a lot of different shapes and a lot of different areas that I can color in later. It will just make the beetle a little bit more interesting once it has some nice color to have a bunch of different areas that I can color in. I'm going to continue adding little bits and pieces here to my beetle, making sure to press down so they transfer. And I think I'm at a pretty good spot here. I can touch up any areas that need touching up, but I think I am really liking the way this is looking. So I'm going to put my black paint away and I'm going to let my black lines dry, and then I will be ready to add some color. Now for the colored section of my beetle, I went ahead and sped this up so that you can kind of get the idea. I'm using neon paint. This is gouache paint, which is similar to tempera paint. You could also use watercolor. You could use markers or crayons, whatever you would like to color in your beetle. The gouache paint is nice. It has a nice bright colors, so I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. Notice that I'm starting off with one color, and anytime I paint something on one side that color to make my beetle symmetrical or have symmetry, I want to make sure to do the other side that color as well. So as I am using my pink, I'm trying to make sure that both sides of my beetle match. It should be a mirror image. After I am done with pink, I'm washing my brush out and I'm switching to yellow. And I'm doing the same thing with my yellow, trying to decide which areas I want to be yellow. They do need to match on both sides, so I'm trying to make sure that I'm consistent there. I am going over my black lines here and there, but it's not too bad. My black lines are so thick that it's working out just fine. After my yellow, I think I'm going to switch to another color. So I'm going with a little bit of orange this time. We'll paint these two shapes in with orange. This is when I'm thinking, oh, it's really nice to have all of these different shapes that I can paint in. Now I'm switching to green. I've got kind of this nice neon green I can use. I'm painting the head with green. I can do part of the body here with green, and it's okay too if you even use two different colors on the same section. I'm thinking that maybe even with this one, I'll do part of it green, and then I'll switch to maybe a different color as I get closer to the middle, like this blue here. As long as I do the same thing on the other side, it totally works. So you can kind of have fun with your design. And I know that all of the beetles that are painted will look a little bit different, so it's going to be so fun to see the different varieties of beetles that come out of this project. I'm going to go ahead and paint the rest of the sections of my beetle until the entire thing has paint on it. At this point, I'm going to cut out my beetle, and my black lines are dry. My middle is still a little bit wet, so I'm going to try to be careful as I cut to try to get my beetle all cut out. I'm going kind of along the outside edge of my black line, making sure I get a clean cut, and then now I'm going to try to get the area by the head. It's a little bit smaller, harder to get to, so I'm trying to take my time with that and get all of the white off of my beetle, so I've got this nice outline. I let my beetle dry a little bit now so that when I turn it over, my paint won't be a mess. And I'm going to add some legs. So I've got these pipe cleaners here. I'm using 3 pipe cleaners for my beetle, and I'm going to lay them out just like that. And you can either use maybe 1 piece of really fat tape, or I'm going to use 2 pieces of this kind of thin tape here. This is just masking tape, and I'm going to put the tape down to kind of decide about where the legs should go, and then once I've got them there, I'm going to push down to make sure that those legs aren't going to move. They'll stay on the back of my beetle. Then I can turn my beetle over and make them look like legs. So right now they're just sticking straight out, and I am going to bend them to look more like bug legs. So the top ones go up like an L, and the bottom ones go down like an L, and then the middle ones you decide. They can either go up or down. So I think I'm going to make my middle ones go down like an L too, like that. And then the feet kind of fold out. So I'm going to fold the feet kind of like little L's as well. And usually they go opposite, so it's kind of like a zigzag, or it makes like a Z shape on each of the legs. So I'm doing just little feet that curve out, and that makes it look like my bug has little legs that can walk. And that is it. That is all I am doing with this beetle. I am loving how it is looking. It looks like it could just crawl right off my table. Here is another angle of it. Looks like it could be maybe hanging from the ceiling. And that is it. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed making this beetle project with me. Please visit Ehlke Art for more fun tutorials. Have a good one.